Again, welcome everybody to Humanities Destiny, our second last class of this compressed 7-week semester at Durham College from the Rotary Global Classroom in our wonderful Center for Collaborative Education in Canada, Oshawa, Canada, for anybody jumping into the class from elsewhere. And what I would like to do today is essentially have a discussion, as I mentioned on DC Connect, to all of the students in Humanities Destiny as well as Short History of the World. I've invited them to come in for a good in-person conversation today, but we'll see how things go in terms of in-person attendance. I know it's a very busy time for all of you with 2 weeks to go and exams and papers and other things. So you always have the option, or even several, in this super flex space where you can jump in the cosmos through YouTube. You can watch the recordings later, which is what many of you do, and you can do your reflections that way. I've had students sometimes actually joining the cosmos from a bus that's late, and they say, well, I'm on my way, and we see them up on the big board. But for the moment, our tech is working pretty well, but we don't have our video conference feature. We've lost that for the moment, but at least we have YouTube, and you can come in through the live chat. So what else do I need to tell you about what's on the menu today? Essentially, you can see on the big board that we're going to really focus on a conversation that's going to be around this very big question of where are we going? You can't get much broader and more philosophical in terms of humanity's destiny than that. But I'll explain more about how we're going to manage the conversation. We're going to have our notes afterwards, as we always do, and maybe we might even have our special guest in the class today. My colleague, Nathan Wilson, has joined today to just see how things are going in this room, and we're going to be talking about this later. So maybe we'll get Nathan to do some notes over on the smartboard, but we'll see. Okay, right now, right, right now, his nose is buried in his notes. He's just a little bit off camera right now, and you'll see how it's going, Nathan. If you're able to, don't worry about it. Okay, but once you're finished what you need to do, you're always welcome to stay for part of the conversation. Okay, but it's I know you're busy. So let me just go through what's on the menu a little bit more so we can be very clear on what's about to kind of unfold in the class today. The reflection that is always done between the current class and next week's class, in which you reflect on the content in the class as well as the resources, all of which are posted in the folder on DC Connect. As you know, there is an option for everyone that I mentioned in the past days. Announcements have been posted, and in the 2 recorded lectures that I posted earlier this week from my sunroom in Toronto about space exploration, I also mentioned about the option. So let me just be clear for everybody in case you've missed this, and I'll check in with Izzy to see if she wants to tell us what that option is. You feel ready to tell us what that assignment option is? A little bit? Okay, it's okay. Izzy had the presence of mind to email me from the emergency room a few weeks ago to say she couldn't make it to class. And of course, I fully understood. And now she's in class, but she has a brace on her leg, apparently. What's that? You're out of the country? Okay, don't worry. You can use the microphone when we get going. So she's been away. She's returned with the brace. She's here. She's a warrior. Carol is here as always. And what I'd like to do actually is start with a little bit of an update from Carol about the latest in space exploration, because there is some news that's important. Okay, so let's get to that momentarily. But first, I just want to make sure that I have dealt with any questions. So I think it's pretty clear to all of you right now that in terms of in person attendance today, we are very limited. Izzy's here. Samantha may be coming, as well as Alex. We shall see. So, in terms of reaching out to students for questions in a live format, there aren't many students to reach out to right now, but we'll always skate in whatever direction you want to skate in this class. So I think this is largely going to be a class where we won't have as much student interaction as we normally do. And I don't see any students in the Cosmos too, or maybe I do in the Cosmos. It doesn't look like it. If you're in the Cosmos, just make sure that you identify yourself in the live chat, okay? Because we have it up here on the big board right now. So that's the way you can interact with us live. So I will ask Izzy if she has anything she'd like to say, any questions before we go to Carol's update about the latest in space exploration. Anything you'd like to bring to the class's attention? Anything you'd like to say about the future? And just make sure, if you're going to say it, turn the microphone on and go karaoke, okay? Make sure we can hear the future. Go ahead.
I think that we have to.
Let me just cut this, okay? So we can hear you. Go ahead.
I think that recently a lot of people in my close circle have been talking about AI and how much they actually use AI, and I find it a little scary
Yeah.
because these people are only like a couple years younger than me, and they're using AI like 10 times more than I have ever used it.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this back, Izzy. This is an ongoing conversation that everybody is having, and educators at times are tearing their hair out trying to figure out what to do in the classroom. And we've dealt with this quite a bit already, but the fact that Izzy has brought this back makes me think that it's something we need to touch on again today. I just want to make sure that we do this within the structure of the course in terms of the topics that we've been exploring so far. Okay, so for everybody, and including those, of course, watching the recording later, you're going to see this big master shot with all of us here, and you will be able to see the big board in front of us. And I just want to take you to the right, where you see the breakdown of the entire course, Humanity's Destiny. And those are the critical topics that we've been exploring. And I just want to touch on those for a moment in terms of a review, and then we can come back to AI. But I want to make it clear to all of you that this has been a compressed 7-week course. It's a different kind of course than what I normally teach. So I haven't been able to deliver this content in the way that I normally do, but I've been trying to. And it's a work in sort of progress in terms of how I, as a professor, pivot within days from a 14-week course to a 7-week course. And this semester, sometimes I haven't done as well as I felt I could have in delivering this content. But I'm going to work on that, and it's something I will be talking to my colleague about as well. But essentially, when we look at what we've been exploring through these past 6 weeks or 5 weeks, we're in the final two classes right now, okay? Final two classes. You can see that we've been following, to some extent, but much more loosely, history's lessons, the next big thing, sustaining it together on Earth. That was the big talk I gave on freedom, future freedom and human rights for humanity, the forces of science and religion, those two great intellectual forces that humans have created that have become the foundation for human civilization. That was something I also gave a talk on. Current event, not so much. New worlds, space exploration, that's where we are now. The idea generally has been, but it hasn't always worked as well as I would have liked this semester, is that we start by looking at sort of history's lessons. We go back and then we start coming to the present, and then we open it up further and further into a bigger macro view of the universe, into space exploration in the third millennium. So your horizon is getting bigger and bigger. And then we bring it back in the final couple of classes to this idea of the human brain, or what is the latest in neuroscience, because everything that happens on the planet today and in our future depends on what happens in the human brain. The human brain is driving development on planet Earth, not nature so much anymore. It's the humans. And so the final class, which I will be able to do in the next week, because it's so important, is this idea of legacy, personal legacy, where you think about, you project into the future how you see your life unfolding. And then you can begin to, through reflections or an assignment, tell us how your life went, what you accomplished, what kind of legacy did you leave, what did you do that you were proud of. Legacy is also something that we have to explore from a collective standpoint in terms of what are the humans doing on this planet and what are they leaving on this planet that is good for nature. So this kind of widening of the view, then coming back to your own life, is where we've been kind of journeying this semester, but not always successfully in terms of the sequence of these topics. But that said, let's make sure tech working is not. I want to make sure that today, when we really ask this question, where are we going? My hope was that we would have had many more students in person. And as a matter of fact, I invited my short history of the world students this semester, 30 students who've been watching my recorded lectures, and they've been reflecting and doing some great work, but none of them is here yet. And probably none of them will be from what I'm seeing. And I've invited all the Humanities Destiny students, and I've even attached marks, serious marks, to in-person attendance. As you can see, we don't have that in-person attendance. So I'm going to go with what Izzy said, because the plan today was to have a conversation with as many students as possible, trying to look at this question from a historical standpoint and from what we've been covering so far this semester in Humanities Destiny. Where are we? Hold on. Working tech is starting to assert itself, and it's not listening. Okay. So I'm actually going to move ahead, and I'm going to let Izzy and Carol, to some extent, although Carol is a volunteer and not fully registered in the course, but I'm going to let Izzy's question right at the beginning dictate the direction of the conversation. Am I disappointed that not more students showed up? Absolutely. And I'll be completely honest with all of you. But I know that even with marks attached, it's very, very difficult to get students coming in person into a compressed course. And that's something I will be discussing with my colleague a little bit later, is how we're going to do that. This is a elective. You choose to be here. It's a hybrid asynchronous course. I'm teaching 2 of them this semester, Humanities Destiny and Short History of the World. Short History of the World is completely online. So the students have all been given online stuff, and that's great. But this course is actually officially hybrid asynchronous. And do you know what that means? If you really want to know the truth, I haven't pushed this. You're supposed to be in this class for 2 hours of the 6 hours every week in person. but I haven't pushed that because I care about the students and I care about what they're dealing with. And that expectation appears to be unrealistic in terms of what students can do. And I appreciate the emails you've sent me apologizing and the difficulties you're having. But in the end of the day, you're missing out on a great interaction that could take place today with all of you and that I do regularly through the semester. So I'm going to default back to what we had a few weeks ago with Izzy, which was actually not bad. And as long as she's prepared to do this with us, which is to come to the podium with me, and we're going to explore together. Just a second. Tech is doing this again. It was working just fine, but we may have to pivot. I may have to go to handheld microphones. Yes. Okay, hold on. Tech challenge. Tech not working. Working tech. Was working, but we have backup. Make sure we don't get held up by dumb tech because the smart humans are. A door just opened, but a human did not come in. It is an apparition that just blew into the class. So this is working. Okay? So this is going to be a shorter class. We're going to focus around Izzy, and she is going to be representing all of you in terms of a student, a young person, and what's on her mind. She's been doing her best this semester with difficulties, health problems with her leg, and she's still getting things done, still coming to class. So she's displaying what I would say is a central quality of the human being to succeed on planet Earth, and that is called resilience and grit. So she's going to come up and join me again at the podium today, and we're going to talk first about AI, okay? But what's on Izzy's mind? Or if she's in pain, I see a grimace. You do not have to get up, okay? You can just stay. Yeah, you're in some discomfort there, okay? So just make sure you have the microphone on. I'm not going to play around with the audience camera today because we could get a close up of Izzy if we wanted, but don't worry about it. We'll just stick with this angle. Before you do that, though, as I promised Carol, and for all of you watching the recording later, I'd like Carol now to take the microphone, and I'm going to put up the video that you sent, Carol, of the Artemis 3 mission. And we're going to watch that for the moment, about a minute and a half. And then Carol's going to explain a little bit more about the Artemis 3 mission that's just about to begin. Artemis 2 was the lunar expedition that just ended with our Canadian astronaut, Jeremy Hansen, and 3 others. And just yesterday in the US, Reed Weissman, the commander of that mission, handed over the baton, so to speak, to the commander of the Artemis 3 mission. And Carol, this morning, being on top of space exploration, as she always is, sent us the video of that conference. So I want to bring this here, okay? And to do that, just give me a few seconds. Here is the Artemis. Ooh, that's the International Space Station. That's the Wiener Smiths. That's Jared Isaacman. And that is, okay, so watch what I'm going to do very quickly. I'm going to have to put the microphone down, okay? You can still hear me. And I'm going to go fast to my email. No, because it was tabbed up here, but I can always move quickly in the global classroom, and I can come to my inbox, and I can come to Carol's, and then I think it's a video trailer, right, Carol? It's this one, and that will be, yeah, great. Okay, so here we go. I'm feeling pretty on top of things technically today. This is the video introducing the new Artemis 3 mission. And Carol's going to tell us about this in a moment. I'm going to run this for everybody, okay? So just watch. I'm just going to run this, but without any audio, why Carol explains. Okay, and let's bring this back. So, Carol, can you tell us a little bit about what you know of the Artemis 3 mission? What is it exactly? Please go ahead.
Yes. So, what I understand is this third mission of Artemis mission now, they have been planned to, yeah, to project the land to land on the moon,
Yes.
on the south pole of the moon.
Hmm.
And at the same time to study a little bit of the certain of the chemicals of the moon that was detected for several past years, for the last year. Some
Ah,
minerals, there's some
right.
water evidence of water too in the moon there. So
Yeah.
we want to explore that area. That's the part of the objectives of that.
Sure.
The crew that was going to they plan to go is a 4 member, as they mentioned the names there.
Yes.
New extra information is that astronaut Luca Pimentino is Italian.
Oh, so they have the Italian, and so instead of the Canadian, they have an Italian this time. Come on in.
This is from
Yeah,
the European
okay.
Space Agency.
Yeah. Okay.
Space Agency, yes.
Yeah.
And the other Rand is the commander. Andrea is the mission specialist.
Yep.
And with Frank Rubio is as well specialist, mission specialist. So all four of them, they're going to they're going to go to the to this mission, present this mission.
Yes.
More details, they have not put very much detail for until now. But what my understanding is the part to add to complete certain part of the Artemis mission.
Yes.
One of the objectives is to afterwards with this experience, they have planned to go later in the future to planet Mars.
Okay, so this is really
This is one step to go to Mars.
Yeah. Got it.
This is it was before previously in the beginning before the confirmation of Artemis mission.
Yes.
They were planning to make directly to planet Mars, but later on, in certain updates afterwards, several months afterwards, maybe I don't recall what exactly they did this,
Yes.
but they decided no, it's not. It's too risky, so they decided to go back to the moon.
Sure. Yeah, that's why they're staying.
To experience to make that exploration confirmed and more experience for the people for the astronauts to experience to have that experience so they could do the future Mars exploration in the planet Mars. So it's a complexity. But
Let me stop you for a second. Let me stop you for a sec because I just want to make sure that we're on track, okay? Hold your thought, okay? I really like the fact that Carol has mentioned Mars, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. And I want to make sure that we are moving forwards in terms of the content and what's really important. And so, just for the moment, I'm going to stop this, okay? And I'll just freeze on a nicer image of something that is, oh, we always love the planet, for sure, okay? So, what I'd like to do is, in a moment, we're going to go to Izzy sitting, and we're going to start to get into the main content today, which is the topic that she's brought up around AI. What we're doing, just to remind you all, is that we're looking at this big question: where are we going today? And the plan was, I walked in today and I thought I would see many more students, but I haven't. And so I'm going to only go with one student suggestion, but it's an excellent one. But for many of you watching asynchronously, and you will be reflecting on this, you may also have questions too that are different. Just remember that there was content to watch for today's class, and that was the 2 recorded lectures that I did on space exploration. If you haven't kept up with the content, I understand, but there is a critical thing that we're exploring in this week in Humanity's Destiny that is part of this bigger conversation, and that is, why are we going into space? Not just where are we going, but why? When planet Earth has so many difficult challenges today. And for those of you who have kept up with the content, you may remember the book that I read from earlier this week called A City on Mars, written by 2 American scholars, talking about the idea that we're not really ready yet to go. And so what I'd like to do for the moment is I'm going to put the book aside because I want to talk about space exploration and Mars and why there's a lot of hype. And there's also some important critical thinking that's being done in this book that I wanted to look at more. But I want to come back to Izzy and make sure that we've really covered these things. So the 2 principal topics that we're going to look at in terms of where are we going today is AI and how that's affecting the human race, so to speak, and we'll try to conclude the space exploration part of humanity's destiny by trying to come up with a good insight in terms of, well, what should we be doing in space exploration that does not affect the challenges we're facing on the planet? In fact, maybe going to Mars might help us on the planet solve some problems. And I'll make some notes, okay? I'll go over to the board so there won't be a need for a student. I'll do that myself, and we'll see if Nathan, he's still working, so it's okay. So let's get to the big stuff, okay? And I'll just go and start the content card. And while you're, Izzy, just grab your mic and just remind us of what you said at the beginning of the class in terms of what is on your mind about where are we going. Go ahead.
I'm really concerned about AI and its development and the way that people are using it, especially like young adults and teenagers.
Yes. Okay. Space. Those are the 2 big ones. Okay. Well, I'm going to come sit with Carol and Izzy, and we're going to talk. We're really going to talk. So Izzy does not have to come to the podium. Could you explain to us what exactly are you and others concerned about with AI? Because we're going to try and get a little more specific, and we're going to try and get some insight into AI in your future? Go ahead.
I think that students in high school especially don't understand how much it diminishes their critical thinking.
Yeah.
It causes almost a disconnect between your learning and the output that you're putting into your work. Because then it's not authentically you, and to be human is to be authentically you. So
Oh, we're getting some good notes now. Okay. I wish I didn't have to run over to the board, but I'll remember and we'll do this in a review with the notes. Well, let's talk about this disconnect. And we also have a piece of information in terms of current events that's important. Are you aware that the legislation in Canada now, the federal government wants to introduce a social media ban?
yeah,
Are you aware of that?
it's for
Yeah.
16 and under.
And under, but it's not for certain. It's just they're beginning to talk about it. Okay. Um, what do you mean disconnect? What is this disconnect that you're referring to? Because this is something we hear so much about today, but to hear it from a young person, you're 19, right? You're 19. Okay. What is it?
I think that if you're not actually intaking the information and doing the steps of actually thinking for yourself, you're losing the the connection to the work and why you're doing the piece of work for this class or why you're in this class.
Yeah. And do you ever use AI?
I think I've used it once or twice.
Once or twice. Okay. So you're definitely very uh, attentive to the problems and you're cautious. Do you see others using it a lot around you?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, like
Like I work with a bunch of high schoolers, and yesterday they were talking about how in their class a lot of them are using it to solve math problems, which I found astonishing because
interesting.
math is a critical piece to learning.
Yeah. And so, what exactly are they learning in the end? Would you say if they're actually not doing the hard slogging of, let's say, equations and learning how to handle numbers and many numbers and put them together, and they're having a machine do it. What do they think they're learning?
I am unaware. I understand that math can be a struggle for some people. Like I struggled, but I got a tutor and I learned.
Yeah.
I didn't just ask a machine to give me the answer every single time because eventually you're going to have to be able to do it. And we're going to get to a point in society where these things that were core and that were important, people can't do anymore because they just don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And you said something to me a few weeks ago when we were talking that I thought was quite profound. And in no way do I think mentioning this is going to be something that would upset you. I would never do that in a class. But you said something about moral compass. You said that a moral compass is really important to you. And so, what do you think happens to your peers in terms of their moral compass if they are not actually using their own cognition to solve problems, but they're using AI increasingly to give them the solutions?
I think that it's causing a problem with honesty, and that affects your moral compass. If you're not an honest person, like you can't morally be okay or right in a sense.
Yes. Yeah. I really appreciate you bringing this to the class's attention, and I can only say to those of you who are watching the recording and reflecting on this later that I do wish some of you could have been here to even ask Izzy some questions, to challenge her or bring new perspectives. I will try to be a bit of a devil's advocate as well to make sure there are different perspectives. But I will say that in about 15 minutes or so, when we finish this part of the conversation. I'd like to start putting down on the board some positive things about how we can use AI in a way that's going to make us better. And this is a huge challenge. As my colleague knows, and I know, and all the educators know today, there's so much conversation happening among educators of how to ensure that you are ready to go into a work world that expects you to use this, but at the same time wants you to be smart and authentic and able to solve problems, but yet you have to know how to use AI. So we want to help you figure out how to use it positively. I would be curious to see what your thoughts are on that, but let's go down a little bit more on this. And do you think that we should just ban the use of AI in a classroom?
I
Come on, are you Samantha? Oh, come on in, okay? Just grab a seat here. Excellent. Nice to meet you. We're just having a good conversation. Great. Okay. Yeah, Samantha, this is Carol, and that is Izzy, and my colleague Nathan. Okay. So should we just do what it looks like we're going to do with social media and say, you can't use this at all?
can't you can't necessarily say that it's all bad. It is helpful in certain contexts, in certain forms. Um, like there's ones that are technically like a digital tutor where they actually walk you through things and help you like actually learn it. Like it teaches you like a teacher
Yes.
instead of just giving you the answers like input output.
Yeah.
So I think that banning all of it would be ridiculous.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. What I did this week is I recorded a lecture for you in advance so that I didn't have to do a lecture while we have a good conversation. But I will occasionally, like now, stop and give a 1-minute lecture on an important point. And the important point I want to lecture on right now for just a minute is history's lessons tell us that humans love their tools. That human civilization could never have happened. There could never be progress without technology. And as you saw this semester, I introduced you to an idea and a thinker, Kevin Kelly, in his book, What Technology Wants. He's the co-founder of Wired Magazine. And he talked about how he thinks technology is a force that may be independent of humans, that predates human development. My point is, AI is just another new technology. And it's here, it's not going anywhere, and we got to figure out what to do with this new thing, this new machine that gives us greater power, greater speed, greater velocity in our lives. So, I think that we should start with making a list of some ideas of how to use it well, because you've already started, okay, with digital tutor. But I would like to ask our new student, but don't feel pressure, okay? I want to just introduce, I want to welcome a student who has come in, and Samantha, you're in Humanities Destiny, not Short History of the World? Yeah, okay, good. Samantha Smith. And you're the Samantha that wrote that great post with Jacob about, excellent. And you're in early childhood education, right? Good, okay. So I would love to be able to draw you into the conversation today, but it's your first time here. And it's our second last class, and I would like to be able to hear from you, but are you okay with speaking early? Okay, excellent. So can you do me a favor, just so we can see you clearly? Can you come and just sit over here so the all the students online later can see you? Okay, excellent. And now we're going to start to get some good things going with more than one student, but a good student. Samantha, just click the microphone up like this, and speak into it with it at your chin like karaoke, so pretty close, okay? And then we will start. Samantha, we're talking about this big question of where are we going today, and I asked Izzy at the beginning what she was thinking about in terms of our future, and she mentioned AI. That's what we've been talking about. We don't have to talk about that. We can talk about other things too. Is there anything in particular, given what we've been exploring this semester with the topics that you can see here, I've been touching on through the semester, in terms of even what you said in that good reflection? You may want to talk about education, but is there anything in particular about the future and where we're going that you'd like to address with us today?
I guess these conversations, I guess, can be very positive in one way, but it's also important the framework that you're going to be discussing them in.
Yes.
And
Yes. The context.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think sometimes it's like when you think of things that are happening in the future, it can be like things like inventors can be a positive thing, or educators are the ones who are like who help train the next generation, things like that. When you look at it, I'm all for those things, but sometimes when you think about abstract things, or like, oh, we're having the next topic of what's something crazy we can think about.
Yes.
I find things like that to be unproductive, or it's almost like
Too big, too broad,
too broad.
too abstract.
Sometimes it kind of
Yeah.
just seems it can be superficial, almost like abstract, and almost like news.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just doomsday things, and it's like I don't think as humans we're sometimes it's a good thing to even think about those kind of things. I think it because once you get too negative, then when do you find the balance point of finding?
Well, let me try something, okay? Let me try something because, and you don't have to answer this, okay? But we're going to go deeper, okay?
Yeah.
I promise you, and I really appreciate you coming for this. And as you know, there's some good marks attached to this. So, for you to be able to leave this conversation with some insight requires us to do some probing. So, if I recall, you mentioned in your reflection that you were concerned about a question that had been asked in the first class or two, and actually had been asked by her online. And then yeah, okay, thanks, Nathan. I'll talk to you later. And it had been asked online, and I wrote it down. And the question was, is it ethical to have children? And I have explained a little bit since then why I wrote that down and why I wanted to explore it. But could we explore the answer to that right now a little bit more between the two of you to go down a little bit more deep into this? Because I think that this speaks about our future very much in terms of, is this a world that we're creating right now, the kind of world that we feel children can thrive in? And if they can't, how can we ensure they do? And if we can't, then maybe she's right. Don't have children. But you had mentioned that you didn't think that question had been asked in the right context. I think you had said something like that. So go ahead and explain, okay? Because I think it's a very interesting but controversial question.
I think I was very I was like, oh, that was very interesting that I didn't realize that you were the one who presented the question.
Yeah.
I saw in the course deck and I was like, oh, week 1 and this is already something we're talking about, when it's personally a thing that I don't agree that maybe shouldn't be talked about, in the sense, because I'm like, I've looked at like history and it's like sometimes we excuse things, or like it's not our decisions to make, or things of justifying, is it ethical to have children?
Yes.
Why am I going to impose that on somebody else, my belief, or sharing that? And it's like how we've gotten where it's okay, where assisted suicide, abortion, all these different issues.
Yes.
Now what's next? Even before you can even be
Yeah,
pregnant,
yeah.
we shouldn't even,
Yeah, hold it
we're
close,
not
yeah.
promoting life at this point.
Yeah. I love the fact that you're willing to talk about this, because I'm going to ask you another question. in the hopes of making this really meaningful for you today. You are in early childhood education, so you're going to be an educator, a teacher, right? Do you think a classroom, no, how should the classroom deal with difficult questions that matter to young people today? Are we doing it properly now in the way that I'm approaching this? Or do you think that difficult questions about our future should not be brought into the classroom?
I think having difficult discussions are important and with someone that you I do feel like this was good. Like I'm definitely way more engaged in the course now.
Good. Okay. Now that you're here and you're getting, you see, this is why. Good. Keep going, because I love when ECE students come in, because they're passionate about education. I mean, so this is as I am. So go on. So how do we? I want to make sure as we go further with this discussion, which is going to open up into a much bigger discussion about our future, that it's being handled in the right way in terms of how we deal with controversial questions. Is it being handled okay for you so far?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's very open dialogue, and I hope to present in the same way. Like I feel like you guys have respected my opinion, and I want to share that same thing. And definitely a lot of opportunities to open up the discussion.
Great.
Um,
Keep going. I'm just going to write this. Keep
I
going.
think when you ask the question about as an educator, how I would, I think my main thing is when I think about these types of issues is my framework of mind. Sometimes it's not my opinion that needs or how I feel about a situation. I find that my framework and my belief comes from I'm a Christian, and so it's not my some things I look to like guidance like from God and be like, okay, this is He designed the world, He designed, and I want to respect and honor what He has created.
Yes.
And designed. So if I were to answer a question, it's I might not agree, but I, as a Christian, this is
It's your worldview.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's an important worldview. Is there anything you want to say to Samantha at this point before we continue to go and try to answer this question about the ethics around having children in a very mixed up, upside down, complex world that is also electronically becoming very dangerous for young people too, in terms of what they're being exposed to in the online world? And we're now about to, in Canada, put a social media ban on this. That's what we're discussing now. The federal government just started this week. There may be a ban coming on social media usage if you're 16 or under. Not yet. But is there anything you want to say to Samantha at this point?
Push anybody in the way that they think or their personal choices. It was more this space is open and felt almost like it was the correct space to ask the question.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we can ask it. We can explore it. Excellent. So we have 3 topics right now. When we talk about where we are going that have been brought up today, of course, there is AI and its impact on humanity and how we can put a list together in one card. These are like real-time PowerPoint slides that we do in this room. There's method in this madness, Samantha, in terms of we're going to make some bullet points in a moment, the AI slide on positive uses of AI and how we can ensure that AI is used to better ourselves, because it's not going away, AI. And she has great concerns about the amount of abuse of AI that's happening in the academic setting by other students that she's seen, people who are constantly using ChatGPT, Claude, and all these other platforms. But we want to look at the positive parts to see where we can focus that. Space exploration, we'll talk a little bit more, but I still want to touch on what I had lectured on earlier this week in the recorded lectures, and that is this book, City on Mars, which has been written by two really interesting scholars. And it looks at the fact that maybe we shouldn't be going into space so quickly now because we have big problems on Earth. Maybe we should be fixing what's here first before we go to Mars or to the moon next. Okay, so that's the space part. And then there's having children today and the ethics around that. I'd like to continue to focus on the children part because Samantha's here and she's an educator, and because Izzy asked the question and Samantha addressed this question in her reflection post. So I think there's potential for real learning that we can do together. Let's look at it this way. Izzy, why did you use the word ethical? Why would you say, is it ethical to have children? Because that's a loaded,
I think that was a key word, and I think so. Yeah.
I think that it was necessarily the impact that it would have on others and the climate of today's world, like the way that we're moving and how fast we're destroying our planet. We have to look at, are we doing more harm than good by pushing ourselves forward?
Do you need some more information before you want to say, or you want to think about that and then respond? And I'm going to start to make notes shortly to see if there's some insight here. We have a student who's basically saying, I'm not so sure having children is the right thing to do because this world is getting darker and darker in terms of what we're doing to it, we humans, with climate change, nuclear weapons, and continuing wars, and people getting slaughtered with missiles that are being lodged by computers. And there's a lot of children who are suffering from mental health issues as well. I'm not so sure about this world. That's a good world for children. But yet, you might see it a little bit differently.
I think my point, where this is where the next logical with that statement of, is it ethical to have children? Therefore, then people start thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have kids. And then more people are like, but eventually you get to a point where things in society become cultural norms, and how things shift and people have a new perspective, where it's like before it was, yes, have kid, like you can have kids, whereas now it's going to be a shift towards, even now you see influencers getting canceled because they've had another kid, especially like it's the main thing you can see it in the fitness world, where it's like a lot of women, where you think that women would be supported, but they're not. They're
Yeah.
so, as well as like specifically my age, a lot of people are like, no, like even like, how can I justify having a kid, bringing them into this world? But it's like, you as their parent can guide them and train them, and you don't know who your child can like be in the future. They could be the inventor, they could be someone who helps. Like, we can't just always assume, or like, if there's so much negativity, let's add
Yes,
more
yes.
negativity onto it.
Yeah, yeah.
But having children is a gift, a privilege, and a blessing. And just because the world, we might view it as going downhill.
Yeah,
That's
not a reason.
Yeah.
This is good. There's some really, really interesting insight here. I'm going to go and make some notes, but do you want to say something to that? Because she's, I think, saying something like, not too long ago, having children was the norm and was more or less what you do when you become an adult. And there are some who wouldn't. But now it seems like, I think what she's saying is that she feels, Samantha, she's in the minority, and the majority is saying, don't have. And yet she feels we should always have children in spite of how bad the world is. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there's some very interesting insight there that we need to hear. Go ahead.
So I was raised Baptist, so we were raised to have large families. I grew up around I have a lot of siblings. I grew up in multi-generational households with lots and lots of children. I want to have children one day, but I believe
I didn't know that. Lots of kids. I thought maybe it was the opposite. She came from a family, she was the only child. See, that's why we need to ask questions. I'm learning something. Go on.
but I believe that even though I want to have children, that may be selfish one day. Like, as a parent, you can only protect and guide them so much. There's always going to be outside factors affecting them. Like, you can't control what a government decides or the way that legislation gets put in, or like your country can change on the flip of a coin. And there are people out there who aren't as fortunate.
Good. Keep going. You are really kind of, it's like we're crawling through an unexplored kind of forest, and we have to clear away this and that, and you're creating this new path. You know, you're digging, you're going deeper into this and taking us to a new place. But it takes some doing. You got to clear this and clear that. But with your words and with your honesty and intelligence, we can go to a new place of understanding.
I do believe that people should be having children. I just think that we should consider how we're affecting the world first, especially countries that are at war right now.
Yeah.
They have children, families. And as a parent, I can only imagine how heartbreaking that is.
Yeah.
With that, I think it's a really good point about that. Where there is horrible things going on in the world.
Yeah.
But just to say, I think it's, if we reframe the question as a more of like with those things, it's more of a timing versus a world, like a new viewpoint of the whole, like going down the line of like it's bad or it's you shouldn't, and reasons justifying why you shouldn't, it wouldn't be acceptable.
Yes.
Now I'm a selfish person because I'm the one who wants children.
Yeah.
But I'm not considering how my child would feel. But then once you get to a point where does the thinking end with that? It's like it's
it's so negative in the sense we might say even it's kind of self-defeating, because the end of that is we don't actually bring life into this world anymore. And that is heartbreaking, isn't it? And I think from a religious standpoint, whether you are a Christian, however, you are both Christians, but you're a Baptist and you're a...
I'm also Baptist.
Oh, you're both Baptists, okay. Isn't that interesting? More in common here, because there could have been, you could have said Roman Catholic, Presbyterian, Protestant, you know, there are many denominations. So, okay, wow. So you're both, you could be a Jew, you could be a Muslim, you could be a Buddhist, you could be a Zoroastrian, you could be a Hindu, but whatever religion we humans subscribe to, religion is a huge force on this planet. And I wished I'd had time to spend more going into that this semester. Science and religion is generally one whole class that I look at. Those are the two great intellectual forces, science and religion. But if you're taking a religious perspective on this, which Samantha is, your prophet whoever he may be, is a great believer in life and is a believer in the propagation of life and bringing more people into this world and loving those people and giving them the chance to experience this glorious thing called life on earth that does not happen in any other part of the solar system or beyond, as far as we know. So this idea of stopping that, I think Samantha is saying that if we go down this road, we're going to be kind of defying our deepest spiritual principles about life. We give life. We don't take life. We give it. That's our purpose. Right? So
Yeah.
we don't want to stop that, do we?
No.
Ever. Yeah. Okay.
I think that even in using that principle, we're defying God because we're causing so much harm on the planet.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So
Hmm.
even though, like, let's say you're not having children, like, not having children is like immoral, or, but if you consider, even though you're having children and you're respecting God's wishes and you're bringing life into this world, we're doing harm to his other creatures.
Yes. Well, that's what humans have been doing. We've been killing a lot of animals. And do you know, there once upon a time, not too long ago, on this part of the world in the Americas, 15,000 years ago, there was these massive, saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths and huge horses, and we killed them all. It's called the megafaunal extinction. We humans killed all the big animals.
Right, like even
So we kill a lot. We kill a lot.
so
Yes.
so like deforestation and stuff.
Deforestation,
And
yeah.
if you support deforestation, if you buy a home on land that has been deforested, you have harmed God's creatures. Right? So
Go ahead, sorry.
I think that yes, religion is our core beliefs and that it's important to take into consideration what God wants for us, but you also have to consider his other testaments.
Good point. It's
Hold it to karaoke just so everyone can hear you on the recording.
right, sorry.
Yeah, good.
It's your point about there are, I agree, so many things that we don't get right, like but our first steps should be, it's not the correction of basically saying, okay, not to have children is a correction in the step. It's a positive correction in the way of bettering the world, because we're not adding to the suffering, imposing that on people, or like it's
Yeah.
You could say it's a correction.
Yeah, it's a correction.
But there are things that we can do way before that. With one is supporting your neighbor, whether that be your direct neighbor, anybody. It's because many people struggle with many different issues, like finding homes, or even just being supportive, like looking, like needing someone to help look after children, having that support.
Yeah.
There's ways we can correct beforehand with even deforestation, like where like this one is, yeah, animals are a gift, like they're used for so many purposes. One, like we don't really necessarily use like cattle with, we use, like a lot of farmers would use that for helping towing the fields and stuff like that, but also just their food. And like, yes, we have to do it in a way that is like respectful, but at the same time there's a place for it, like, so once it's not it's more, we need to reframe, like, humans, we have a responsibility to be responsible citizens. And then we are going to have a better world that we all want to bring children. Like, if that, you know,
This is good. Now, let me just explain while the camera is still on all of you, but you know what? To give you a little less pressure, Izzy and Samantha, you know what I'm going to do? Because that's the YouTube live stream up here, okay? It's about 3 seconds behind. So watch what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to bring the camera over here, and I'm bringing it over now to me. Okay. But everybody can still hear you, okay? But they're going to see me, and I'm going to start to make some notes here because there's some important takeaway. First, what I'd like to say to all of you and Samantha and Izzy is I think that we're having a classic, great, deep, probing conversation that is all about what makes this classroom so popular during the regular semester. But you only need two, as you have seen, Izzy and Samantha being able to go further with this. We don't need to fill up all the couches. But I think that we have a topic right now that I'd like to make sure we cover properly. And the AI list, we can wait until next week for our final class or space exploration as well. I want to make sure that we begin to put some critical bullet points here based on the conversation, some takeaway of why have a child in spite of everything. This is the harder part, to be able to write these things down here. Now, I'm going to try something. Normally, Samantha, during the regular semester, there is a student who becomes a note taker. And the student is the one that makes the notes. But this is asking a lot because you've just jumped into this today. But would you, do you like to write? I think you do. Yeah, I like to teach about writing because I have done that, and I won't talk about that for now. I think I have a yes from you. So come over here, okay? Because watch what's going to happen, okay? This is great. This is great. We're getting this. So I'm going to show you how this is. It's so simple, okay? This is the pen. That's how you rub it. Okay. And then when we go to another slide, it's going to be like that. Okay. And these notes get saved and they put into the DC Connect. So I'll bring the camera back to us there, but I might go back and forth with the camera so students can see you. You're looking at them there, okay? But what you're experiencing as a young educator is a new kind of classroom that you might be interested in for the future. Okay, so, all right, great. So now Samantha's going to do the notes, and I'm going to bring the camera back here. And there's Samantha, everybody. She's ready to get the notes down, but here comes the camera back to all of us here. Okay, great. Good. So we can see the notes on the big board. Izzy, Carol is here. Samantha's over there. We're going to get some critical information now. We'll let Samantha write the first thing. And Samantha, could you try in that number one and write down why having a child today is as important as ever? Let's see what she writes. In other words, you can start. I'm just sort of thinking out loud with Izzy because the camera can see us and they can see her writing. But the idea is I'm turning this on the head now and actually saying, having a child today, Izzy, because of the way the world is in terms of the way you see it, somebody could look at the world very differently, Izzy, and see opportunity, could see that more people are getting educated. World literacy has been rising. People could look at the world today and say people are living longer. Medical science has improved. Hygiene has, so it depends on how you look at it. Izzy, it's perspective, okay? But I'm just going to challenge you, really challenge you by saying maybe it's more important than ever to have a child today. And that's what, so could you just say, just tell us, you can put the microphone to your lips again, that everyone can hear you. What did you just write there?
Community learning experience / growth.
And so would you say that this is more important than ever today, community learning and growth in a world that is so complicated and potentially destructive? You see these things as being more important than ever?
I think an example of this would be when new parents become children. Sometimes, like you often see, like a parent become way more responsible. They look at the world differently, and
Oh.
people tend to. It gives an opportunity to reflect and maybe better yourself.
So you're saying that actually having a child makes you more responsible as a parent. It makes you a better human being.
It can be not necessarily. It's up to the individual, but it can be an opportunity.
Very good point. Very good point. And of course, in the end, the child benefits from that because you, as the responsible person, as the parent, are going to be giving the child responsible lessons. Right? Yeah, something like, Izzy, what do you think about that?
I think that we all understand that our brain chemistry changes when we have children and that we actually tend to become more selfish, not about ourselves, but about our family unit. And we actually tend to be very protective, which is not bad, but we tend to be very like, these are the people that are important, and we don't focus on global issues as much. And we have a hard time thinking about community outside of our immediate family.
Our little unit. We become too inward, just everything. Do you think that's true, Samantha?
I think it can be. I think it's also though important to get. There's so many ways that you can extend that into. So you can get involved in your child's school or helping whoever. Like if you have children, then if you put them into a religious thing, it could be anything.
Yes.
Also, there's different. It expands your world because now not only are you doing your interests, you're also like you go and explore new things based on your child's interests, or there's different opportunities for you to build your community, build your village to help you as you navigate life.
Samantha, how many children would you like to have? You ever thought about that? Like how many?
Yeah, I would like 4 something.
4 children. Oh, wow. And Izzy, you said, if I heard it correctly, that actually you would like to have children.
One day.
Well, what is so? Actually, you do want to have a child, and so could you help Samantha write the second point, which is why would Izzy have a child today? One day, okay, but why would you, in spite of what you've said so far about the world? You didn't say, I'm never going to have children, and the world has to change a lot before I would even think about it. You said one day, so there's a desire there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a desire. This is a powerful thing. That desire, we might even be getting kind of religious here, because religion would say that desire to bring children into the world is in us all, and especially women who carry the burden of childbearing. Why? And Samantha's going to write this out because we're making a list. We're going to do 4 points. Why have a child today?
I would want to raise a leader, almost someone who is a frontier.
Change maker.
Yeah.
Oh. Now we're getting into some good stuff. Uh-huh. So you actually have confidence in your abilities as a mother, a responsible mother, to raise a child who will become a leader and make the world better. You actually are confident you could do that.
One day, not like
Oh,
tomorrow, but one day.
okay. Do you agree with that? That, you would like to be that way too, Samantha, as a mom, and bring a child in knowing it's all bad? Because that child, with my good parenting and proper schooling, is going to invent, do things that will make things better. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. I think I know that the world can be a scary place, so I look for things like who are the people that I would want my children to be surrounded with? Who do I need to become to be the best version that they need to see?
Yes, yes.
Resources and how can I get involved in the community, or specific issues that yeah. But I'm very conscious even now,
Sure.
how do I prepare myself for that?
We officially only have about 15 minutes left, and I wanted to end early. Why don't we say this? We're going to do one more point, and then we're going to conclude the class. And this is going to be great. This little series of notes in conjunction with the recording that will be posted. I can tell you that my disappointment in seeing so few come is ending with, I would say, a lot of optimism in the fact that this conversation that we've had, just the three of us, has gone to some deeper places that can help us really think about the future in hopeful ways. So what's the third thing, Samantha? You're the one who said right from the beginning, that you were in a way, you were the courageous one, because you came in defying what you feel is common thinking today, which is don't have kids. And you came in and said, but I want to. In fact, I want to have 4. So could you write the final point? Why have 4 children today? Samantha, could you write down your reasoning for that? And while she's doing that, if there's anything else you want to say, think about it, okay? And we're going to start concluding. But when you're ready to say it, just go ahead and say it, okay, Izzy? I'm just opening the door to get it a little warmer. Yeah. Samantha's promote life. Okay, fellow Baptist Christian over here, you can't argue with that, can you? Nor can I as a Jew, but that's not very important right now. My religion, not as important as it is to you. But I have a different worldview, but I'm a human. We're all human together, and I completely understand that. Promote life, not death.
See, I believe in that.
What?
I think that the reason a lot of people have children is selfish. And it is to fill their ego, make them feel important, and not necessarily to better our society.
So, Samantha, would you like to respond to? Come back to the couch, okay? And we'll conclude, and I'll make sure you're here, and then because Samantha certainly doesn't strike me as a selfish person at all. But you didn't direct it to her. You're just speaking generally. But with that kind of thinking, basically, I'll say it. It would be that 4 children, you're super selfish. I'll say it just to take it off your shoulders, okay? Do you want to respond, Samantha?
I don't think that you're necessarily selfish for wanting 4 children. I think that a lot of people want big families, and that big families are important. They create lots of different members in society, and having different sibling orders actually creates a different personality type in each individual person, which is important for having change and for having movement in society. But I think that there are specific people in the world that have children, and it is of selfish means and not to help the world or to push it forward. It is because they want a family and because they want that kind of connection.
I think the important step before is not everyone's going to do it for the right reasons, but we want to encourage people and that you prepared is not the right word, but it's understanding why you're doing it, and you're never going to be fully prepared, but to be mindful and sorry, there's like trying to answer two different.
Okay.
at the same
You're
time.
reflecting, on some very complicated, deep stuff quickly. So it's okay to pause and we can be silent. And I just want to remind all of you watching the recording later that whether you do a reflection for the discussion post or you choose to do the final assignment, which I posted as an option, I'm asking you to do some serious reflecting in both cases. And as you know from this semester, I've been asking you always, each week, to reflect. So what Samantha is doing right now is a live version of what I expect from you all the time in the class, which is think, be mindful, and reflect. So go ahead.
I guess from my from personal experience where I was very like someone quiet, didn't say anything. But it's like when you realize that you have it's it's okay. The point is that you want to be someone who is the way that the world becomes better
Yes.
is even like taking out of it from a religious perspective, but also just for anyone is, are you seeking things that are true? Are you promoting what's beautiful? Or like, are you is this genuinely what you are living your life for?
Yeah.
Versus is it in a selfish manner? Is like when you have that mindset of where you're looking, can I be the beauty in a dark world? Can I share truth? Things like that? Humans can be more responsible. They'll take care of their families, their
Yes.
communities, the general world, be more active in things like that. Those are first steps versus I just don't want to see another wave where
We're canceling things. We're
Yeah,
ending
exactly,
things. We're canceling
exactly,
things.
exactly.
I understand. And would it be fair to say that both of you in your own way want to be light in a dark world, don't you? You want to go forwards and be a beacon of light. And your way is to have children who will, by that very act, will promote life. They will be in your hands. Children who will understand how to make better change in the world. You will be a responsible parent. And you're saying, I'm going to wait a little bit, but you still want to do the same thing, but you just would like to give yourself a little bit more time to make some changes in the world. But it is very, very interesting to me to hear that you're both Baptists in the end, which is amazing. So there's something there that you share, and I think it's that sense of being the light holder. Maybe you want to think about that for your final reflection, whether you do it as a discussion post or you do it as the final assignment. Your legacy, what you would like your legacy to be. Is there anything you'd like to add as we conclude this very good, great conversation we've had? Very authentic. So for all of you who have watched this, you are getting real education from people who are living it, not from bullet points and PowerPoints and old things that are so abstract and don't really connect to you. If you haven't been able to connect to what these two brave students have done today, then I think you might want to look at yourself in the mirror and understand, why are you not connecting to people who have spoken so honestly? That's something maybe you want to reflect on for your final reflection. Anything you want to say as we conclude? About this question today, where are we going? We've broken off a topic. It started with AI, but then Samantha came in and it became a really great conversation about that fundamental question of having children. But we're ultimately coming back, Samantha, to that idea of humanity's destiny, our future going forwards. And that is something that maybe you feel optimistic about?
I thought it was actually very interesting about in my head, like I was always about like what's the framework that we're coming into these types of conversations with.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it was more of like two people having opposing, and I was like, well then how is it really that positive? Like it's
Yes.
interesting that I did feel like this was a positive discussion, and just had a good way of like it. There's multiple ways and different types of conversations that it doesn't necessarily. Yeah, like you have like that. I don't think it was before. I was like absolutely like this is not.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't, like
Yeah.
this is good for humanity, that we should even be treading on this, you know. But after this, I'd say, you know what? There's balance to it.
There's balance. Thank you. Well, maybe it's in part because originally your professor didn't set up that question properly early on when Izzy brought it to you. He might have assumed knowledge and he should have explained things better to you at that point. But